Denim Wrapped Nightmares, what is happening? First of all, shout out and thank you for your support. And secondly, I want to tell the people about Public Domain, their next favorite adult animated sitcom that you're going to love more than any animated show you've ever seen before, because you've already seen these characters before. These characters exist in a world where they've passed up their copyright, and now they're free to use for me in the public domain, and we're going to do it, and we're going to voice them by a bunch of supernatural characters, and it's going to be your favorite show. Now, we need your help to make this show because we can't do it by ourselves, and the executives are sitting on their asses, so go to our Indiegogo campaign. You'll find it down here, over there, or up there. I'm not really sure. It will be somewhere. Check it out. Donate a little bit, donate a lot. We got some great Christmas perks, including a naughty Santa card of me that involves, well, naughty things. So check us out, support us if you can. If you can't support us, thanks. Share us, like us, subscribe us, all the things that make online campaigns successful so you can have the next greatest adult animated TV show.
Welcome to Denim Wrapped Nightmares, Tipsy Exchange podcast, where we explore the Supernatural series, episode by episode.
Over drinks, we'll discuss the lore, the gore, and what we adore about the Winchesters and their adventures.
I'm Berly, and I'm a new fan of the series.
I'm LA, and I'm here along for the ride. Now let's get tipsy.
Hello, LA.
Hey, Berly.
It's our mid-season premiere, and I have a review to read to you.
Okay.
It's actually from Facebook, and it was from all the way back in June, but I didn't see it until after our season premiere for season 7, so I'm just now reading it. So this is from Amber Nicole Roberts. Her review says, I found these girls on TikTok and instantly fell in love with their podcast. Supernatural is my all-time favorite show, and hearing these ladies watch the show for the first time is very entertaining. They don't have a filter most of the time, so earphones are recommended if in a crowded place or at work. They're so funny that I constantly catch myself letting out snorts from their antics. Yeah. Berly and LA do such a good job with their recaps and lore. Highly recommend this podcast to any Supernatural fans.
Aw, I love it.
Me too. And I didn't know you could leave reviews on our Facebook page. So if you guys are not on Apple or an app that lets you leave a review and you're wanting to leave a review about the podcast, you can do that on our Facebook page. All right. Well, before we get into today's episode, I am going to do a quick little reminder to where we were on our last episode because LA is on recap this week. So our last episode was Death's Door. Sam and Dean raced the clock on a high-stakes mission, while Bobby was in a coma and sought the help of an unlikely old friend to solve one of the most personal cases of his life. And it was an endearing, heartwarming, very sad episode.
Yeah. I still don't want to believe that he's gone.
I think this episode kind of answered that question, though, LA.
I know. I know. I'm just saying, I still don't want to accept it.
Hey, if we know anything about Supernatural, it's that doesn't mean he's not coming back.
I know. That's why I'm like, he's coming back, right? Like, he's not gone for good.
The little road so far reminder thing at the beginning, I was like, okay, so what do we have coming before the end of this season? We have Sam and his Lucifer hallucinations. They've been reminding us about that all season. Something's going to happen with that. They reminded us of Castiel. And so I'm wondering if he comes back this season. Maybe they were just reminding us of everything. And it wasn't necessarily, hey, you need to remember this. The Lucifer thing, I definitely think is going to be revisited before the end of the season because they've just brought it up way too many times.
Well, it kind of needs to be.
Yeah.
It's just like here and there.
Yeah. Okay. But speaking of today's episode.
Yes. All right. Well, today's episode is titled Adventures in Babysitting. And it is the 11th episode of season 7, and it aired on January 6th, 2012. All through my notes, I've referred to this man as Dad, and now I see he did have a name. He did have a name. Yeah.
I didn't catch his name either, just FYI.
Okay, good. You usually do, so I was like, man, I just saw it in our notes, though. So his name is Lee Chambers.
Dad. I like Dad.
Dad, that's what he has in my notes. Okay, so Lee Chambers' the guy sitting at a diner having some coffee, and he's kind of creepily watching this other lady that's outside talking to a truck driver. And I was like, oh, who's this creep at first? And then the waitress comes over, pours him some coffee. They had some little interaction. I don't know, it wasn't important. But he like paid her really fast and was following this girl and the trucker. And when they went around one of the big like 18-wheeler trucks and just disappeared. He pulls out a big old knife and we're like, oh, he's a hunter.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess he's not a creep after all.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
One does not necessarily preclude the other.
That's true. Well, we find out what he was hunting later, but the sweet waitress from earlier comes around the corner. She turns into this really weird looking creature. I guess we find out, what are they? The Vitala?
Yeah.
I mean, they look like cat eyes and then have like
Little
2 pointy teeth in the front and then some smaller ones toward the back. It was bizarre. I didn't like it. Oh, and she's like, what did she say? He started like getting a little doozy.
Yeah.
Yeah, woozy doozy.
Yeah.
She told him that she put some special sauce in his coffee. So she drugged him. And then she just like throws him up against the 18-wheeler and he's out.
And then she was like, that's for the shitty tip, asshole.
Oh, yeah.
So the moral of this whole story is tip your servers, guys.
Yeah.
Tip your servers.
After Lee is knocked out, Daddy Lee is knocked out, we see Sam and Dean. I don't know where they are. Some house. I don't know.
They were in the safe house.
Okay.
I think, if I remember correctly, I think this is supposed to be Rufus's safe house that they went to initially after the Leviathan were hunting them down and everything.
Okay.
I think it's the same place.
That makes sense. Well, they're there and they're very solemn, very clearly mourning Bobby. Dean's lost it yet again. He is obsessed with Dick Roman.
He wants that dick. He wants that
There's
dick so
newspaper
bad.
clipping. Oh my God, he does.
He wants it.
He is after that dick. On it. Dicks all over the place.
There's just dick everywhere. All over the walls. Yeah.
Newspaper clippings, like, everything. Just crazy person on the wall clippings.
And honestly, he's a lot more calm about the dick than I thought he was going to be once he snapped out of it.
True.
I feel like we haven't seen him really like lose his shit just yet.
Yeah, it's all just been like a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like it's still coming.
Nutty.
Yeah,
a little nutty, but the breakdown hasn't happened. I agree. Well, he's obsessed with that, and Sam is like, I mean, should we tell people what's happened to Bobby?
Yeah.
Probably tell some people he knows. Dean's he's like, no, whatever. I'm not calling anybody. And then he's got the numbers that Bobby gave them before he died on this piece of paper. And he mentions that he give it to Frank weeks ago and he hasn't heard anything back from him. So I guess he was helping them investigate what these numbers were. Bobby's phone rings and Sam picks it up and it's a young girl asking for Bobby and saying that her dad told her to only call him if something happened or to only talk to him. Sam's like, well, I can help you or whatever, but she hangs up on him. And Sam's very concerned about her. He thinks that, she sounded young. We should go help her. And I guess he had caller ID. And so he found the guy's name in Bobby's address book or whatever. We don't have those anymore.
Nope. I don't even I've seen TV shows where like the person asks somebody on the street if they can borrow that person's phone. And then they use that person's phone to call their friend's phone number. I wouldn't be able to do that. I don't.
Right. Well,
I don't have people's numbers memorized anymore.
I think it would be you and like one other person that I would know, but that's because we've had the same phone numbers since we met.
And my number is so easy. I've actually had people ask me if it's fake whenever I've given them my number.
Yeah, yours is good. Yeah. As Dean is going off on a tirade, I can't talk, that about how Frank hasn't gotten back to him. They need to track this down. They need to get Dick.
They need that Dick.
And then he picks up his beers, like, thanks for drinking my whole beer.
That was
and
weird.
Sam's like, I didn't. Mine's over here. So Dean's just chugging his beer, not even realizing he's drinking.
Yeah, I guess I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
There were a couple of things that happened in this episode where I feel like I was supposed to pick up on something and I didn't. And that was one of them.
I just took that as he's like so focused, he's not even like recognizing things he's doing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's so obsessed with Dick right now
Right.
that he didn't even realize he had finished off his beer. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking anyway.
I can relate.
Oh my God.
To the Dick obsession, not
Yes,
the okay.
I knew what you meant. But thanks for the clarification. Sam goes to Daddy Lee's place, and Chrissy kind of like cracks open the door, with the chain, and as he introduces himself, says, he's a friend of Bobby's, he can help her. And I like her because she opens the door for him, and she's like, I got 911 on speed dial.
Yeah.
One button, buddy. And I was like, oh, good for her. I mean, I probably wouldn't have let him in, but good for her to be ready on it.
Well, I mean, she did say it had been days. She'd been home
True,
by herself.
yeah.
She kind of was in a position where she was going to have to trust somebody.
Right. And he was hot. He's big and hot.
He's
so
really big. He's really hot. Those puppy eyes.
maybe I would let him in.
Yeah.
Yeah. She said that he asked how long it had been, and she said 5 days. And so he says, what was he after? Did he tell you anything? And she said that he had leads in Dodge City. So he goes into Daddy Lee's office and rummages around, going in through doors. Because, he asked her to make coffee so he could sneak in there and do it without her knowing that he's poking around.
I was about to bring that up because whenever Sam did that, whenever he sent her to go make coffee for him, I thought that was kind of odd.
I did too.
And so I was happy whenever it happened with Dean, and Dean just kind of explained it like, there's stuff in here that I don't know if your dad wants you to know, so I need you to leave the room. I was just like, oh, that's why Sam did it. He was just more sly about it.
Sweet Sam.
I know.
Well, he goes to the office, and we don't see it, but he opens like the closet door and pulls away like all the clothes, and he smiles, but we don't see whatever it is he saw.
It made me think of that episode all the way back in, I think it was season 2 with the demon children, whenever there was that crazy guy that had the yellow eyes all over his closet wall.
Uh-huh.
Like he pulled back the clothes, and I was like, it's going to be yellow eyes everywhere. That's like a hunter trick, I guess, because Dean kind of knew to go straight to the closet after he like skimmed around the room and saw there wasn't anything out. So, yeah, I guess that's how they keep it hidden. Keep it in the closet.
I guess so.
Not Dean, though. Dean's got that dick all over the wall out in the living room. He's proud
That's
of
true.
it.
Yeah, he's not hiding anything.
Nuh-uh.
He's not keeping his stuff in the closet.
Not at all.
So we don't see whatever it was, but Sam comes back into the kitchen where she's making coffee and asks if he can take a picture of her and her dad. And she says, yeah. And so he goes off to see if he can find Daddy Lee.
I think it did show that there were a couple of newspaper clippings. They just didn't really show anything long enough for us to read them.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Because I was like, oh, no yellow eyes. That's the only reason why I remember.
Dean goes to see Frank. Of course, in true Frank tradition, he's got a gun on him to say hello. He thinks that Dean's a Leviathan, and I mean, he just like doesn't trust anybody. So Dean is like, okay, well, they bleed black, right? I'll bleed for you. So I'll bleed for you, okay? So he cuts his wrist. Obviously, he does not bleed black blood. And so he tells Frank to do the same. Frank does it. Surprise, neither one of them are a Leviathan.
I did think it was hilarious because Frank has like this massive gun. And so whenever Dean first said, like, okay, Leviathans, they bleed black goo, right? So I'll bleed for you. And Frank immediately angled his gun down toward Dean's foot. Like, he was ready to go. He was ready
He's
to
like, all right, then.
Yeah. And Dean's like, whoa. No guns. We don't need guns.
Frank's a lot.
I love Frank. I
do too.
didn't think I could love Frank more, and this episode made me love him so much more. I
was excited we got more of him.
Same. I was thrilled to see Frank.
Yeah. So now that they're buds again, he tells them to come on. They take the car and go into, is it a garage?
I don't know. It was obviously some sort of abandoned thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And I also, like you, was like, wait a minute, didn't he have a house? Like, where are they? So I was happy when Frank mentioned, like, yeah, asshole, I started digging into the stuff you told me to. And then I had, surveillance and whatever put all over me. So he had to go even deeper underground than he already was.
And then he was in like an RV trailer home kind of thing inside that
inside a place. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, he mentions he went through like all his IP addresses and they were surveilling him. And like, he was like, it's not easy to see this deep into what's real and also be bipolar and with delusional ideation. I was like, oh, okay. Now we got our diagnosis for Frank. All right.
He said, there ain't no pill for what I've got. I love him.
I know. I loved that. Oh. Basically, since Dean sent him these numbers, he had to go underground. And that's why he's there. That's where he spends his time. He's like, why are you all over my ass? It's only been 4 days. And Dean says, no, it's been 4 weeks. And Frank says, huh? I was like, oh, really?
He's like, days, weeks. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. He tells him that Dean needs to calm down and take a little LSD, a little shiatsu. Like, he needs to chill out. Dean's like, okay, whatever, Looney Tunes. And he tells him that he has been working on the numbers and that he discovered that maybe they were missing a number. And so he ran, what did he say he did?
Well, he said probability. And
there we go. Yeah.
Dean at first was really mad that he was insinuating he missed a number. And he's like, hello, the dude was on his deathbed.
Right.
You don't think there's a chance that he didn't get that last number out before he passed away. So he said, like, it wasn't a license plate. It wasn't a date. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. So probability. And he said he was going to start with 6, like he was given 5 numbers. He's like, so I was going to start with 6 as to what 6 numbers could have possibly been. And then I was going to go on to 7 and yada, yada. And he said, luckily he didn't have to go past 6 because he figured out that they were coordinates.
I'm so glad that you remembered that because I didn't take one note on that.
I mean, I don't understand how probability math works and how these machines run and everything, but I am just kind of like, okay, I could understand you landing on the probability that it was coordinates and that it was 6 numbers.
Yeah.
But how did you figure out what the missing number was?
I'm sure there's some program where you can run it through every single possible combination.
Right, but how would you know that that would be the right one?
Oh, that I don't know. Especially with it ending up being coordinates to a field in Wisconsin. Like, how did you just know? Oh, well, he said he knew because that was it was purchased by William Inc.
Okay, so that must have been what's taken him so long is that he actually looked at what each of the coordinate combinations could possibly be and then looked at what it was and it was like not relevant, not relevant, not relevant. Oh, what's this? Okay, so that would have taken way more than 4 weeks, Dean. Right? He's right. You do need to calm down.
But yeah, so William Inc. owns this land and it's a subsidiary. Thank you. Subsidiary of Rich Roman Enterprises. Surprise, surprise.
Dean's just like, dick. He shook his fist.
I need to get it.
I need to get that dick.
Now we're with Sam at a morgue, and he's looking at a man's dead body. Is it a coroner that works in the morgue?
Yes. A coroner or a mortician?
I think it's mortician.
I think a mortician is who prepares the body for a funeral. Right. So this was a coroner. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He was not ready.
Coroner's report and everything. Okay.
Yeah. Coroner.
So the coroner, he thinks he's got jokes. And he's like, he says whoever the guy is, Matthew something. He was found in a ditch off the interstate. He's got puncture wounds in the femoral artery, the corduroy. I can never say this.
Corduroy.
Okay. Man, I haven't even been drinking.
One of those big arteries. Oh, shut up. I just saw you sipping on your mimosa.
Oh, I know, but I mean, like, you would think I had more than just first sips, is what I meant.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so yeah,
Carteroid.
Yeah, that artery.
One of them big arteries.
Yeah, the big one.
The big one.
And he lost. That's when Sam asks what the cause of death was, and the guy's like, "Well, I would think losing 5 pints of blood would do it." And Sam doesn't think it's funny.
Sam's not laughing. He's not even smiling.
And so Sam's like, well, I mean, what could that be? Just, I forget what he listed out. But the coroner's like, well, or maybe a vampire. And it's silence.
Dead silence.
He's like, oh, that usually gets at least a chuckle or something. But Sam's like, no, not funny.
Not funny, buddy.
We switch back to Dean and Frank. And I like this duo together, by the way.
I do too.
And I like how Frank pops his head out, just like, get your costume on. Yeah. Not like their disguises as costume. And it shows them dressed up as like power line workers.
When Frank popped out and said costume, he was like, we need to get your costume on. And Dean was like, what? I was like, yeah. I like clapped. Because I think it was recently that I was telling you, we don't see as many costumes anymore. Like they're just in suit and tie most of the time now. So I was thrilled to have costumes. And Frank's insistence on them playing the correct roles whenever they were out in the field. Yeah. I'll let you get there.
He's like, you getting that cherry picker? And Dean's like, I don't know how to operate that. And he's like, well, you better do it because you're a technician.
Yeah.
And my badge says manager.
Yeah.
And I like that Dean goes up in the cherry picker. And just as soon as he's up there is when Frank catches, like in the binoculars, that they have surveillance cameras all over the place. He's like, all right, you're up there. Get down. Good job. Get back down. Dean points out, well, if they have surveillance everywhere, how are we going to surveil them? Frank says, well, we're going to tap into their surveillance. So they go back to the RV trailer home. Frank gets into their system and says that he'll take the first watch. And he looks over and Dean's already asleep, which he had been saying Dean looked like shit.
Yeah.
Because he's just been on that dick and not sleeping.
Mm-hmm. What a dream.
This is too much.
Okay, I'll stop.
No. I'm doing it. It's too easy.
It's so easy.
So yeah, Dean falls asleep and Frank's like, well, typical. Knew that was going to happen. Then we're with Sam and he calls Dean while Dean's asleep and leaves him a message saying that he found out that this Daddy Lee was a hunter and he was hunting the Vitala and Dad had caught one years back and he wrote about it in his novel diary. It's not a novel, it's
his
a diary.
Journal.
Oh, it's a diary journal, whatever. And he noted that it took a silver knife to the heart and twist it, and that's what kills them. And that they are loners. They like to knock out their prey, take them home, and then feed on them slowly and give them a nice slow death. How did he know where to go to the diner?
I assume it was something from Daddy's notes because Daddy went to the diner, right? So something in Daddy's notes led him to the diner. So he's just following all the stuff that Daddy left behind.
Yeah, Daddy's trail.
Yeah.
So Sam goes to the diner, which I feel like when we first looked at it, it looked like a diner, but then in the picture, like where she's standing when they're there, I'm like, is it a bar? I feel like it's one of those restaurant, gas station, bar places that are typically kind of in the middle of nowhere. Oh, okay.
That truckers go to.
I guess so. Not that that's important. That kind of confused me.
Mm-hmm.
He shows the picture and asks if she had seen that guy. And she's like, maybe I waited on him a couple weeks ago. I don't know. And she tells him, maybe you should go talk to that girl outside. And it's the girl from the beginning that I thought he was creeping on. So same girl, same waitress. He goes outside. We see her name is Sally from her necklace. When he asks about Lee, she's like, it's not safe. Let's go somewhere private. Yeah. So she takes him over to the 18-wheelers, in between some 18-wheelers. And she's acting all scared, like something's just going on here. And she's so scared about it. But then waitress comes around the corner again, which, by the way, I don't know if she had a name either. I just kept calling her waitress in my notes. She starts attacking Sam, and sweet Sam, he's like, run, Sally, run. And it's like, you didn't see this, Sam?
You didn't figure out immediately this was a trap?
A team effort here? Yeah. And so Sally clearly does not go running, and they both just bite into Sam and knock him out.
She hits his kneecap first with her hooker heel.
Oh, damn, I missed that.
That's how she got him down to her level, to where she could bite his neck. She hooker heeled his knee, and then he was and she was like, nah.
Not nice.
No.
Then we're back with Dean and Frank. Dean has woken up and Frank is showing him the surveillance footage of this woman, which when they show it on the camera, I thought it was Castiel and I got really excited. Because she's in like a tan
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
I was like, oh shit. And I was like, Dean's going to be so happy. But no, it wasn't.
It was Sarah Palin.
Yes, he called her Sarah. That was funny.
Yeah.
But it turns out she's Amanda Willer, and she's out there surveying the field for Dick because they are apparently planning to build something. They don't know what, but that's what she's doing out there.
I like to survey the field for Dick as well.
Oof,
in my spare time. I did think it was interesting whenever Dean woke up, Frank said he had been out for 36 hours.
Oh my God, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Well, good. He needed it.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit. Wow.
And then how did the conversation go where it turned into what happened to Frank when he was younger? He was telling Dean to stop or...
Well, yeah, he was telling Dean that maybe he needed to quit.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, because Dean was getting pissy with him about like, why'd you let me sleep so long? And I can't remember, what did Frank say? I'm not your coach or something like that. I don't remember what. And so that's kind of how it segued into that, is that Frank was basically just commenting on how like you're full of rage, you're angry, you're not taking care of yourself. Like, I think you just need to quit.
Yeah, you're like running yourself into the ground.
Exactly. And that's whenever Dean was trying to make it seem, I don't remember what Dean said, but he was kind of being condescending, like Frank wouldn't get it. Right. And that's why Frank was like, oh, yeah,
okay,
I fucking get it. Like,
yeah,
I've dealt with loss too.
Oh my God, it's horrible. So
his story.
Reveals, he reveals that when he was 26 years old, he came home from hunting to find his wife and 2 kids gutted on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, poor Frank.
So Frank's backstory is definitely something I want to see in our spinoff idea. I want Frank's backstory. I want to see Frank and Bobby, me. I want Frank.
Yeah, I agree.
Give me.
But yeah, he's like, so then after that, you get up, you're fine. You tell yourself to smile and just do it all over every day. Mm-hmm. And Dean's like, oh, so just fake it? Forget what Frank said to that.
Frank said, I like to call it being professional.
That's right. Okay. Mm-hmm. We jump back to Chrissy and she is calling Dean now. And Dean's like, what the hell? Why are you calling me? And she tells him that Sam told her to call if she didn't hear anything back from him. So he realizes Sam's missing. Mm-hmm. And he tried to call him and he didn't answer. Then we switch to Sam tied up. Shocking.
Shocker. Never seen it before.
I know.
This was a new thing.
Daddy Lee's there and he tells him, he's like, oh, something's up with his ears. And he tells him that's the venom from the Lady Vitalas, and tells him that the girls tag team to get their prey. He's not looking too good. So Sam asks him how many times they've fed on him. And he says 3 times. So not good.
No, and he also said that after being fed on 3 or 4 times, you're likely a goner.
Right.
And so that's why whenever Sam asked him how many times have you been fed on, and he said 3, that it's like, oh shit, we're not doing good here. He's on his last legs here. So
then we switch to Dean, and he goes to see Chrissy to try to find Sam. And same, like you said earlier, he doesn't bother telling her to get coffee. He's just like, hey, I'm gonna go in here, and you might see some things you don't want to see, which. Also, you guys really think she didn't go in there and look around and snoop while her dad was gone?
She was playing the I'm a little innocent. I liked Chrissy.
Oh, I did too.
Played by Madison McLaughlin. She
was good.
Was really good.
You're right. She was playing it like Miss Little Helpless.
Yeah. I don't know anything. I just know this is what my dad told me to do. So I understand why both of them. It's not that they assumed she didn't know anything. It's that she wasn't giving it away that she did know.
Right.
And so that's why I think they were playing it kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I loved her. Her and Jensen Ackles had some great like big brother, little sister chemistry going on. It was really good.
So she watches him go through. And they like almost the same view of like Sam. Parting the clothes in the closet, smiling. But we do see this time that it's just a corner of a map that's been ripped off the wall.
Yeah.
And so he turns around and she's standing there and he's like, where is it? Give it to me. That's when she turns on him a little bit. She's like, she pulls a gun on him and she's like, I'm going with you. And he said, I don't think so. You're, like a little kid. No.
I loved it when he just slapped the gun out of her hand and she was like, ow.
Damn.
Yeah.
But she was good though. I mean,
I
hey,
enjoyed her. Yeah.
She had it. She had him there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But she tells him that, sorry, buddy, she burned the map.
Mm-hmm.
But lucky for him, she memorized it.
Mm-hmm.
Smart girl.
Yep.
So now he has to take her with him.
Well, and I love that she was, whenever he was like, I'll be back. Like, I'm just going to be gone for a couple of days. I'll be right back. And she was like, yeah, my dad said he would be gone. He didn't come back. Sam said he would be gone. He didn't come back. So you're taking me with you. That's it.
So then they're in the car and she's trying to talk to Dean and Dean doesn't want to talk to her. And so she puts her earbuds in, but then she rips them out and she says, what? How did this even happen? My dad's like an excellent hunter and your brother's the size of a car.
Right.
Which I liked. And she's like, how did they get them? It doesn't make any sense. And that's when Dean reveals that he actually hunted a Vitala, I guess, a while back. And he knew that they hunted in pairs. Mm-hmm. So if he hadn't slept 36 hours, he might have given that information to his brother. But
right. That the incident in his father's journal where it was a loner was apparently an exception, not the rule kind of thing. I just remembered something else that she said in the apartment that cracked me up when she was talking about why Dean had to take her with him. She said, I saw your brother. He seemed competent.
Yeah.
But the implication being, but you, sir,
no.
You do not seem so.
So she keeps him talking, and I forget where how the conversation led to, but he mentioned that Sam was at Stanford, and she's shocked Sam went to college because she's grown up like them, knowing nothing but the hunting life. And she's like, what? How did he get to go to college?
Dean does tell her that she could do that too, that she could walk away from the hunting life and that she could go to college, that she shouldn't limit herself.
Look at him. Such a good big brother.
Well, we know from this season how guilty he feels for going and getting Sam from Stanford in the first place now.
Right. He's like, I can save another one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we switch back to the, I guess the Vitala den where they're just keeping all these guys tied up to feed on. And Sally.
Did you notice the bodies that were like in the background?
Yes, I did. It was disturbing.
It was violent. I was like, what the hell?
Like, clean up after yourself after your meals.
They haven't gone and dumped those bodies yet.
Ladies, get it together.
That means Daddy Lee has been in there watching these men die. So that's how he knew. I'm just now realizing this. That's how he knew that it was 3 or 4 feedings before you died.
Yeah.
Because he's watched these men die. Oh, poor Daddy Lee.
Yeah. He's probably like, thank God this massive man is here now. Maybe he can help.
I can relate. I would have been thinking.
Oh
you
my
just
God.
keep piling them up.
I mean, it's like I'm really setting them up.
You've
and I don't
set
even
them up.
I'm not even meaning to.
Okay, but yes. So Lee and Sam.
Yeah, so Sally is there and she goes to start to feed on Daddy Lee. But Sam cunningly interrupts and is like, hey, Sally, did you ever hear about how I killed some Vitalas in Utah a couple years back? And that catches her attention. So she stops. And I forget what she says, but he's like, well, I just wanted you to know how much I enjoyed killing your sisters. And that does the trick. That pisses her off. So she goes to feed on him instead of Daddy Lee. So he kind of saved him there.
Saves his life, yep.
Not even kind of. He saved him.
He saved his life, yeah. We know that now.
But she gets pissed and feeds on Sam.
That's accurate.
Yeah, right. Dean and Chrissy end up watching the ladies at the diner in the parking lot. And they kind of see the situation where Sally brings one guy over and then the waitress gets into one of the 18-wheeler trucks and starts taking off with it. And so they're like, oh, this is our tag team we're looking for. So they follow them to this lair or wherever they're keeping everybody. Chrissy's like, all right, let's go in. Let's do this. And Dean, I think he like asks her to fist bump or take a hand or something. And he cuffs her instead and cuffs her to the steering wheel. Is like, I'm not letting a kid go in there. And she's like, I'm not a kid. I can hold my own, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, nope, not happening. Yeah. And before he gets out, he makes sure to ask her for her lock, her pick lock that she picks locks with. So she gives it to him, which I knew. I was like, she's got to have a backup,
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not a kid. Like, I've seen some things, and she says that she saw her mom ripped to shreds,
Right.
which that's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And she really wants to go with him, but he's not having it. He leaves her in the car. So he sneaks in and sees both the waitress and Sally are in there now. He completely just knocks Sally out. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if he brought that pipe or crowbar or whatever he picks up, but he just like whacks
Bow.
her,
Yeah.
and she's out. I
Yeah.
was like, damn, dude. So
No hesitation.
right.
It was funny because he was being all sly and sneaky to get into the room. So I thought he was
Right.
going to sit back and watch the situation a little bit or something. But it's like, nope, lead pipe. Here we go.
Barreling in with that pipe.
Yeah.
The waitress comes after him and they're fighting. Like, out of nowhere, Chrissy busts in and is like, Daddy. She's come to help and free him. But Sally, who miraculously somehow has not had a brain fracture or head trauma, grabs her and uses her as like a shield and to like get Dean to let the waitress go. So they're kind of like at an impasse. Dean throws his knife on the ground. He's like, all right, like, don't hurt her. She's a kid. The waitress goes for her dad and she's crying and, wanting somebody to help. I can't remember what Sally says to her, that like he's not going to come help her.
Dean tries to say, just let the kid go. Like, you can keep the three of us, just let the kid go. And Sally says, I don't think we're going to be letting anybody go.
That's right.
Which, of course, she's not. Like, the kid's going to just run and go tell somebody, tell on him.
When Chrissy hears that, she's like, she pulls a knife from her under her sleeve in her jacket. She twists and just stabs Sally right in the heart and twists, just like she knew what to do. Oh, by the way, when these things die, they remind me of the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, they almost look like a mummy or something.
Yeah.
They like dehydrate.
That's immediately what I thought.
Yeah, Crypt Keeper. I can see that. Yeah.
So yeah, the waitress goes for Dean. Chrissy goes, cuts Sam's ropes, lets him go. Very slyly slides, like, hands off the knife to Sam. I was like,
yeah,
damn. And so he goes and stabs the waitress, takes her out.
She Crypt Keepers too.
They both do. Yeah, they both didn't look good dying.
Mm-mm.
They did not die gracefully. Job well done. The boys go to see the dad in the hospital where he's recovering. And Dean kind of kindly tells them, like, for Chrissy's sake, you could get out. You could walk away from the life, and she could still have a life as a normal kid and not have to go through all of this. I think the dad asks, well, have you ever known anybody that, walked away from the life? And Dean's like, well, no, because they end up getting killed before they even have a chance to.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you something right there, Daddy.
Yep.
And so they leave, but Chrissy runs out after Dean. She wants to say goodbye. And I think she even calls him out. She's like, we're going to say bye, asshat, or something like that.
Yeah.
And she says, I guess I'm retiring. One and done. I can't remember if he asks her what she's going to go.
Oh, I was going to say she also said, who knows, maybe I'll be going to Stanford or something too. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say, which I thought was really cute.
Yeah.
And then she fist bumps him, even though she said she like made fun of him for it earlier. Like, I think she was like, nobody does that anymore.
It's lame.
But yeah, so fist bump, says goodbye to her. And then we're in the car with Sam and Dean. And I think Dean asked how Sam was doing. And Sam said, I'm definitely not okay. But, I just think I should just keep working, work through it. And he's like, do I even need to ask about seeing if Dean's okay? And Dean, of course, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine.
We just got to go get that dick.
Yeah. But he's like, you know what, Sam, you're right. We should just keep working, but we're also going to continue to keep going after that dick.
Mm-hmm. Need that dick.
Yeah. And then it like closes out on just a close up of Dean driving and just smiling, smirking to himself.
Well, I thought that was heartbreaking because Jensen Ackles, I thought, did phenomenally there with maintaining sadness in his eyes while...
Yes. I was like looking, I was like, is he crying?
Yeah, he was maintaining sadness in his eyes while also practicing his fake smile that Frank Devereaux told him to put on.
Yeah.
So that's what he was doing after Sam
Yeah.
went to sleep off, getting fed on a few times. Dean was practicing being professional, as Frank put it.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that they did that close-up shot so that you could really see that detail of what Jensen was doing with his face there.
Yeah, he did a good job.
This was written by Adam Glass and directed by, oh God, Jeanette Swark? Sark?
Yeah. Yeah.
Zark?
Swark. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'll try to get that name right before your next episode, Jeanette. All right, so gore. There wasn't a lot of gore in this at all. Not that I can think of. I mean, there was blood from the people getting fed on and the corpses.
Yeah. Like they were bloody, but not gore.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was gory per se.
Yeah.
The visual effect of what happened whenever they died, that was something new.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciated that it was something new kind of going on there. But I could have taken or left that special effect, to be honest.
Yeah.
Did you adore anything about this episode?
Well, of course, I think we're both going to say Frank.
Frank, yes.
We got more Frank.
Got more Frank. We got to know more about Frank, learn more about who I would love to know what he did whenever he was like a professional or whatever, Did he start as a hunter or did he become a hunter after what happened to his family? And I want to know more about Frank. So definitely Frank. Chrissy. I really enjoyed Chrissy.
Me too.
Thought that was a great character. Some of these girls that come in here being like too big for their britches can be annoying to me. You and I've had this conversation before and we've said like we think maybe we're projecting a little bit because we know that we acted like we were too big for our britches whenever we were young.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. Something about this character clicked with me. I liked her.
Yeah, she's a good little actress.
Mm-hmm.
I liked her.
All right, so into the lore. Today I am reading an article by Emma Stara Gross from Atlas Obscura. The article's name is "One of Dracula's often overlooked inspirations is the Indian Vitala."
It's a real thing?
Or
real lore?
It's real lore as real as anything else that we've researched.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, as legend goes, the Vitala is a ghoulish trickster of varying description that haunts cemeteries and forests, hanging upside down from trees and waiting for humans to play pranks on. They are said to exist in a realm between life and death and have the ability to see into the past, present, and future. They didn't see those knives coming, though, not in today's episode.
Yeah.
The boundless knowledge makes them invaluable to sorcerers who often seek to capture and enslave the Vitala to use its powers for their bidding. Quote, "Growing up, my father taught me that the Vitala could see everything," recalls a priest at the Pasadena Hindu temple in Los Angeles, who grew up in the Indian state of Gujarat and wished to remain anonymous. He said they could detect the good and the evil inside you. We were forever cautious around cemeteries because you never knew what might be waiting for you. The Vitala legend dates back to the 11th century when it was made popular through Vitala Panchvimshati, a collection of stories that children in India still read today, also known as Betal Pachisi. In this collection, originally written in Sanskrit, a tantric sorceress. Children are reading about a tantric sorceress?
I mean, hopefully they're not doing what we think they're doing.
Okay, maybe tantric doesn't mean what I'm thinking it means. Okay.
Well, yeah, because isn't there like tantric yoga?
Oh, okay, you're right. I'm just a perv. Okay, so
no, I thought the same thing.
Okay, good. All right, so a tantric sorceress asks King Vikrama to capture a Vitala. Each time the king approaches the creature, however, it presents him with a riddle, along with some unusual rules. If the king knows the answer, the Vitala will go free, flying back to its upside-down perch in the tree. If the king does not know the answer, then the Vitala agrees to be taken as his captive and to go with him to the sorceress. And if the king knows the answer but does not speak it out loud in an attempt to outsmart the Vitala, his head will explode into a million pieces.
What? Goodness.
Yeah. It's like a really good bargain, right?
Wow.
Good deal. No risk. No risk.
Yeah. My God.
Vitala Panchvim Shanti features 25 stories with the same concept, and in 24 of them, the king answers the riddle correctly. Thus, again and again, the Vitala escapes the sorceress. But the 25th time, the Vitala asks the king the following: if a prince marries the queen, and a princess marries the king, and each couple has a baby, what is the relation between the two newborns? This weird incestuous question is what finally stumps the king. Because he does not know the answer, the Vitala is forced to go with him to the sorceress. But during the journey, the Vitala reveals that the sorceress plans to use its powers to kill the king and take over the realm. The two then decide to team up and kill the sorceress together. After peace has been restored, the Vitala offers to protect the kingdom and come to the king's aid whenever he needs it. While this popular story depicts the Vitala as a trickster with a capacity for good, today the Vitala is characterized as far more demonic. In the Mythical Creatures Bible, the definitive guide to legendary beings by Brenda Rosen, the Vitala is called a hostile spirit to cause madness, miscarriages, and kill children.
Jesus.
Big jump. Big jump.
Yeah.
From the
Man.
trickster in a tree to this.
Just a trick.
Just big jump. Likewise, in Encyclopedia of Demons in World Religions and Cultures by Teresa Bain, the Vitala is defined as a vampiric demon that possesses humans and causes their feet and hands to twist backwards, their skin to turn green, and their fingernails to become long, poisonous white talons. These descriptions are far cries from the original Sanskrit text of Vitala Panchvimshati, in which the Vitala is depicted as more of a nuanced creature. And this transformation can be blamed, at least in part, on one British explorer, writer, and gadabout, Sir Richard Burton, who was the first person to bring both the Kama Sutra and Vitala Panchvimshanti to Western audiences. Not only did Burton choose the word vampire, a word with its roots in Eastern Europe, for his translation of the word Vitala, as opposed to something more like spirit, but the illustrations that accompanied his text showed a taloned creature with pointed ears, bulging eyes, leathery wings, and a long tail, thus transforming the Vitala into the malevolent monster it is depicted as today. Further cementing this new depiction in his translated collection, which he called Vitram and the Vampire, Burton chose to include only 11 of the 25 original stories, greatly diminishing the depth of the Vitala character. Scholars have rightly criticized Vitram and the Vampire for these shortcomings. N. M. Penzer, a British independent scholar and fellow of the Royal Geographical Society, calls Vitram and the Vampire not a translation, but an adaptation, and a very free adaptation, too. Yikes. Regardless of scholars' critiques, the damage had been done. Vitram and the Vampire was marketed as the English translation of Vitala Panchvimshati, and readers took the depiction of the Vitala as authentic. One of those readers was Bram Stoker. The author greatly admired Burton and was fascinated of his writings about the Indian occult, and particularly Vitala Panchvimshati, Dracula's transformation into a bat that hangs upside down, for example, his reptilian-like climbing abilities, his powers, and his centuries of wisdom all may have been drawn from Burton's translation.
Mm.
The modern Vitala, then, is an amalgamation of cultures, stories, and misinterpretations, adopted, adapted, and then adopted again. And while the Vitala of today's pop culture is a far cry from the original text, those stories remain in the hearts of Indian children and grown-ups. When asked whether he believes the Vitala exists in some form on Earth, and whether it might have an influence on us, this priest at the Pasadena Hindu temple that I mentioned earlier leaves things open. He says, as with any myth, any frightening story or creature, some people believe, some don't. But I've found that when something goes amiss, when there's a sound in a cemetery, an unexplained shadow or disturbance, people change their minds.
Who knew that's where Dracula came from?
I didn't until I Googled Vitala.
I sure didn't. And I love vampires.
Or at least an inspiration for it. Yeah. Well, I mean, the bat thing, once you read what the Vitala looked like and all that, it makes sense that this was probably something that at least had an influence on Dracula. Quote to close it out, we have a conversation between Dean and Frank whenever they first run into each other again, when we first get our Frank back. Dean says, Frank, I'm not a Leviathan.
And Frank says, oh, sure, you're not a Leviathan. Dick Roman is not a Leviathan. Gwyneth Paltrow is not a Leviathan.
And Dean goes, yeah?
And Frank says, trust me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Denim Wrapped Nightmares.
Follow us on Twitter or Instagram, leave a review, and let us know how we can get involved in the fandom.
This was fun, jerk.
It always is, bitch.